is Shannon Witten. I'm an instructor here at the College of Carpenters and Allied Trades, and today I'm going to show you how to geometrically lay out a segmental arc. Now before we get into that, I think it's important to differentiate between a semicircle and a segmental arc. When we are looking at a semicircle, we have the very basic terminology of the components of a circle, so we know that the diameter is the longest line going across a circle. We know that the radius is half of the diameter, and we have our circumference. When we are creating a semicircle, we need to find the center of this circle, so center of our diameter, which is our horizontal line, and then we're going to go 90 degrees perpendicular up the radius length. From there, you take the radius length and you would strike from one end of your diameter to the other. That creates our semicircle. When we're talking about a segmental arc, instead of our diameter as our horizontal member, we're looking at a chord now. So a chord is any 2 points along the circumference connected by a straight line. So same concept, we have our horizontal line, but now the drawings will typically give you a rise above chord, not a radius, and I still need it to be in the center of this chord, and I need it to be perpendicular going up. To strike an arc that terminates perfectly on both ends of this chord, I still need to find the center of my circle. So that's what we're going to do today. When we lay out for our segmental arc, we're going to find the center of our circle, and by proxy, the radius that I would need to strike this arc. So moving over to here, today all you need is a blank sheet of paper, a ruler, a sharp pencil, and a geometry compass. So I'm using this whiteboard version. All you need is one that has a sharp point on one end and a pencil on the other. Again, sharper the better. That's what's going to make us a little bit more accurate today. I'm going to give you the length of the chord, and I'm going to give you the rise above chord. But first, I'm going to just note that our scale is full. So anybody following along with a regular imperial ruler, that's fine. We're using full. When we start getting more into it, we'll talk about architectural or engineered scales, but we're not worried about that today. And my chord length, I'm going to make 4 inches. And my rise above my chord, I'll just make 3/4 of an inch. Now I'm putting a lot of information in this corner, but I'm going to only designate these measurements by 2 letters, so AB for my chord and OC for 3/4. OC just because I haven't used them for anything else, and all this does is keep the page from getting cluttered and designate that from this point to this point, that's the measurement that you're looking for, and it helps to really keep the page clean. So starting off with your chord, when we're looking at the information given, we want to use the relevant, applicable information first. What can I already put on the page? And I can't put my rise above my chord without my chord. So I'll start with that 4 inches, and what I would recommend is when you're laying this out on paper, you give yourself a good amount of space underneath your chord, because we're going to be looking for the radius of this circle, and it tends to fall somewhere around here depending on your rise. So I measure out 4 inches, label it AB, and I'm ready to get started. When you are creating a segmental arc geometrically, what we are going to do is essentially bisect a line 3 times. In this case, our line is our chord. For those of you unfamiliar or still figuring out bisecting, to do that, I'm going to use my geometric compass, and I'm going to open it up to greater than halfway of the line that I am trying to bisect. When I do that, I will use the same setting on my compass and come off of A, going above and below. Going over to B, I'll do the same thing, above and below. Where the 2 arcs of what would be a circle, if I kept going all the way around from B, intersect, actually give me 2 points. And with those 2 points, I can create a straight line. The reason I am bisecting, instead of just trying to come 90 degrees up, measuring over, is because I need a perfectly perpendicular line above and below. above for my rise above chord that I'm going to measure out, and below to make sure that the center of my circle is also centered on my AB line. So with those 2 points, I can now connect them. And when you're doing this with your ruler, make sure that you're lining up perfectly between those intersecting points, because the more off you are, the more it's going to grow when you get away from our chord length. So being very careful, I draw my line up. And now I have the center of my chord, and it's 90 degrees. With that, what can I do next? I can establish my rise above chord. So with your ruler, obviously mine's not to scale. I have a much larger ruler. I'm going to measure up from the center of my chord, my 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to label it C and O. So now we know from this point to this point, that's my 3/4. Now we've bisected once. I've used all the information that I have here. I now need to create the arc that hits A, C, and B equally without creating any side steps or edges. To do that, I'm actually going to bisect 2 more times. So I had one line and I bisected it. Now I have 2 more theoretical lines. So A to C and C to B. So I like to draw the actual line itself, just so you can see that we are bisecting a line once again, and it creates a bit of a triangle. And now I know what I'm cutting in half. So A to C is a smaller line than A to B. So I can set my compass a little bit smaller. Once again, as long as I'm greater than halfway between A to C, this will work. If you don't set your compass greater than halfway, you'll find out really quickly that the arcs will never touch each other, and you're not going to have 2 points to bisect. So, striking above and below what I think 90 degrees would be, I go off of A, and I come over to C, and now I have another 90-degree line coming off of my A and C points. So I take my ruler, I line it up once again very carefully between those intersecting points, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw this line all the way till it intersects with my first bisect line. You can even go a little bit farther if you like. Right? What's important is that it crosses this first vertical line. Now, fun fact when it comes to geometry, if you bisect any 2 chords in a circle, you'll actually find the center of the circle. When you find the center, you can find the radius if you have any point along the circumference, and we have 3 points along the circumference. So this could technically be the center of my circle, and I could adjust my compass to strike an arc from here. But what I would strongly recommend is that we go to the other side, CB, and also bisect that, because what this allows me to do is double check to make sure that my center line is actually 90 degrees and my AC line was bisected correctly. So one more time, bisecting line CB, strike an arc above, below, come over to point B with that same radius set to my compass, go above, below. I need to make this guy a little longer. And then if this was done correctly, when I go to connect this intersecting line, it should line up at the exact same spot as my other line. If it's not, something's off. Now, that might not be the end of the world for some smaller layouts, but for some bigger layouts, you want to try and be as accurate as possible. So, this is a chord in my circle. These 2 are also technically chords in my circle. And to create this layout, I bisected 3 times. Now, to actually strike the arc that hits A, C, and B equally, I do want to draw attention that we're going to be setting our compass from these 3 intersecting points to any of our points A, C, or B. Where people typically get confused is our original bisect here that we made with the same radius coming off of A and B. A lot of the time people will set their compass to there. We don't want to set our compass to that. Once we created our vertical line, it stopped being relevant. where we want to set our compass to is where the 3 lines intersect, because that's the center of my circle. So I'll take the point of my compass and set it to any 3, because they should all be the same distance if this is an accurate radius. I'm going to go ahead and set mine to C. A little bit tricky with the whiteboard compass. And then I can strike my arc from A, C to B. And that gives me my segmental arc. So, using this method, you can use this again for layout on site. It comes in handy a lot on plywood when you're laying out for arches above a doorway or windows, making templates, and you can also use it for a lot of floor layout on curved walls or stairs, anywhere that you have a given chord length and you know what the rise above that chord is supposed to be. Thank you very much. I'm Shane Whitten.